Greetings, my name is Manny Knight, aka the Serial Doodlist, and I'm back again with a brand new video for this Saturday. I'm trying something different where I'll be narrating a little bit about my life, so you can think about this as a Meet the Artist type of video while creating an art piece. Because I feel like one of the coolest ways to tell a story is to create art while you're doing it. So here we go. The painting that I'm doing right now is called Moon Whale. It's a brand new painting, and it's basically the silhouette of a whale in the background of a moon with splashes of color on the moon that slightly drip. The canvas that I'm using right now that you see that I'm priming with black is an old canvas that I've had for over 3 years. When me and my best friend first moved into our place, we wanted to create some art to sprucing up the house because it was empty completely. We had a couple of beds, not even, we had a couple of sheets, a couple of pillows. We just fresh moved in. And we're like, let's put some art up. So we spent some time making art to put around the house. I have a rule when it comes to art. I'll never throw out any bad art or just art I didn't like. I'll recycle it because I feel like all art can be created into something new even if it's old. It's reimagining and reinventing. But yeah, me. My name is Manny Knight, or Emmanuel Knight for intents and purposes. That's my real name, but I go by Manny. Born and raised in Brooklyn, lived my life there my whole entire life until me and my best friend decided to take the leap and move to the city about 3 years ago. And it was one of the best decisions that we've ever made because it was a part of our 3 Trinity dream. And that Trinity dream was 1, to be amazing comic book artists, 2, to live in the city, and 3, to make art while living in the city. And honestly, 2 out of 3 of those dreams have come true. And while we were chasing and pursuing our dreams, a 4th dream was created. And I think that's the beauty of just having goals and setting them. Because you never know whether you're on the journey or you recently completed it, or the journey didn't even end up the way you thought it would. New ones are created while you're out there doing something or ready or prepared. And it allows you to begin the process all over again and find that vigor and passion. I think it's one of the amazing things with the human spirit. But going back to me, prior to what I'm doing now, I spent my time as a public artist for a nonprofit organization that's been around for over, I think 16 years, over 16 years, yeah. And what they did is they used, what they do is they use art as a tool for social change and justice. And I got that job by absolute accident. So about 4 or 5 years ago, I was basically deciding what I was going to do for the rest of my life in terms of like how to jumpstart my artist career. I knew I wanted to go to college and I knew I wanted to pursue my art career. I just didn't know how or what way to go about it. And I guess I was at the right place at the right time, but I saw these students working on this amazing mural. And I was like, huh? And it was actually out of my old school. And I was like, what is this? And I go over and I'm like, hey, I used to go to this school. And they're like, oh, cool, we're making this cool mural about immigration and culture. And I was like, whoa, tell me more about it. And they did. They talked to me about the premise and equality and where they came from, what they represent, what their parents went through for them to be here. And it was just an amazing story from each of these individuals, and I was blown away with it. And angry because like by the time I was out of that school, now they're doing all these amazing artistic things that have these messages when I begged and clamored for it. I was like, man, whatever. But at the same time, I was super happy and overly excited. I was like, wow. And then I bumped into one of the artists of that nonprofit organization. And they said, hey, you look like you're really enamored by this. Would you like to join in and volunteer? And I was like, yeah, I would love to do that. Sign me up. And he goes, you know how to draw? And I go, absolutely. And I actually had my sketchbooks on me and I showed him some of my work. And he was like, that's good. Yeah, that's great. Yeah, let's have you. Do you know how to paint? And I went, nope. I did not know how to paint at all whatsoever, period. Because beforehand, I only did pencil to paper and pen to paper, dabbled with markers a little bit, not as much as I do now. I was terrified of color, so I never used it. So that whole experience taught me to open up and try new things. And I'm glad that I did. So I spent my time volunteering on that project, learning who the students were, learning their stories, talking more about art with that fellow artist. And before we knew it, we were done. We were having a celebration party, and I met one of the program directors for that organization. And he comes over to me. He comes over to me, and he says, "Hey, I've seen the work that you've done, and I've seen how inspired you are by this. You want a job this summer?" And I said, "Yeah." And that would begin my journey there. And during that time, I put in the work. I asked hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of questions to all the artists that were working there. And it was about like over 10 artists working there, all from different parts of New York City, Queens, Brooklyn, Bronx, Westchester, Long Island, Governor's Island, you name it. I mean, Roosevelt Island I meant, but you name it, they were there. And they all had different art styles and different perspectives to bring to the table to teach these kids. And I was just like, I want to be kind of like them. I want to be able to offer something and teach something to people. And I never even thought about that as an artist. I was like, kind of linear, one-track minded. Make my comics, get in, get out, that's it. And during my time there, I did murals. I learned how to paint. I learned from some of the best artists in New York City, some of my favorite artists in New York City. And I started idolizing the modern artists that create art pieces here and that were local over, the legends that are already and always will be legends. I mean, I always have respect for them and I always love them, but I started to idolize and just have more respect for the hard-working artists that are alive now and making the change in their communities. It moved me. And slowly I became like them, I guess. Well, I wouldn't say like them. I pretty much formed my own entity within that organization, where I went from volunteer to part-time to staff to behind the scenes to development and communications. Like a nonprofit, you gain a hat and a little bit of everything, And it was amazing because I got to work with all these amazing youths and students that were like 13 all the way up until like my age at the time, 21, 22 years old. And they just had bright minds and they had so much to offer, and they taught me many things as much as I would hope I taught them. And I guess the greatest thing was watching them interact with their community leaders and watching them interact and create change for their communities with these people. We worked with business improvement districts of boroughs. We worked with Whole Foods. We worked with Blick Art Supplies. We worked with charities and organizations and businesses that were committed to improving New York City. We worked with environment protection agencies, and we worked with the Department of Transportation. It was a really interesting experience to have. I look back at it and I go, wow, I don't know how I got that. And it was great. And then I started teaching workshops, which was awesome. And, I never learned those things. I don't think I've ever would have learned those things on my own. So it was great to have that hands-on experience while teaching and doing these things. I learned as I went. And eventually I burnt myself out. And I was at a crossroads where, do I continue doing what I'm doing, or do I go on to complete my actual dream? Because I felt like the more I involved myself in that organization, the more I was losing sight of my goal. And there was nothing wrong with that, but at the time of being burnt out artistically and a little bit emotionally, because there were some things going on in my life that were pretty, I would say, intense, as well as just some issues that I was having with the organization at that time. I decided ultimately maybe it's time for me to leave and spread my wings and do something else. But it was hard because I loved what I did and I loved the students and the connections that I made. It was one of the toughest decisions, but in the end I felt like I made the right call. And when I left, me and my best friend said, screw it. It's time. And the fourth dream was created based off of the experience he and I had separately when I was working at my organization and he was working for a business. And we decided to combine best of both worlds and create 529 Arts Avenue, which we pride as a platform for local artists and musicians to showcase their talents to people who actively look for people and artists who create and make art. And that's what we do now. And he and I co-founded 529 Arts Avenue, and I work as a curator and event planner for it, where I plan art events and I curate art shows with them. And we throw solo and group exhibition shows for our visual artists, as well as we host in our downstairs lounge space, we host musical, poetry, spoken word, and theater-like performances. We're all about just giving the artist a platform to really shine and just be themselves and showcase to the world who they are. And now we're actually creating paint and drinks and drink and draws and all these other fun activities for the artists and the people to continue to network and intermingle and create opportunities for each other. Because in the end of the day, all we want is one shot and one opportunity to show what we can do, whether we're artists or just have any dream. I fully believe in that. I'll talk more about that in another video, but I'm gonna stop it here. As you see, that's the finished art piece, and I'm pretty sure it came out okay. I like it. There are some things I would change, and I'm probably going to change, because I'm gonna be teaching people how to make this at a paint and sip. So yeah, with that being said, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video.